Before we get into those little idiosyncratic things that you say that we all know, your save percentage was over 920. I mean, there was maybe 3 seasons that you were barely under 899 one year. Your goals against was under 240. I mean, all the things said, yeah, this guy can absolutely handle. I mean, I understand that you were behind Henrik Lundqvist. I mean, that's a tough nut to crack. I mean, that guy's not going to go down. You're behind Chris Mason in St. Louis, so I understand there's some things there. But for those teams to not go, hey, we got a gamer here, let's leverage this, see if we can get some pieces of our puzzle and trade him off somewhere else. The fact that you were just sitting there in the American League playing great, I mean, what are they telling you? Like, how are they explaining this to you? What is your agent telling you?
He's telling me to stick with it, because we're doing everything that we need to do, which is something that got, a little old after 6 years of, doing it. But I think you touched on it. I mean, a lot of wrong place, wrong time, wrong era. When I got drafted, as Trav said, that was 2003. A pretty darn good goalie was drafted first overall that year in Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, Marc was a very slender, 170 pounds, soaking wet, Gumby, super quick around the eye, very flashy. That was the mold I felt that during that time. That's who they were trying to find. Those were the goals. I was playing at 6'3", 230. I was a very large statured goalie who was, like a Luongo looking, guy in the net. And that wasn't what the new age of goaltending was at the time, at least how I felt. So Fleury, and he was the new cookie cutter people were trying to fill. I got a lot of shit from a lot of coaches about, being the size that I was. And, that grew contentious at some places. And despite what I was able to do on the ice, it just, like you say, you run into somebody like Hank, and I've been fortunate to play with so many unbelievable goalie partners across the whole career. But Hank was second to none. And when you see somebody like that come in, we started the same year, right? So that was his rookie year, was my rookie year. And I got to be with him for his first shutout, got to be with him for a lot of his first games in New York. And it became very clear and evident that this net was his and it wasn't going anywhere else. And so, you got to play out a 3-year deal. You got to play out a 3-year deal there in New York. The very next year after I was drafted, Al Montoya was drafted by the Rangers in the first round. So, like you said, 2003, extremely deep draft, maybe a 6th rounder, would have been a 3rd rounder in another year. But, when Monty got drafted that next year, 5th overall, this was now I have Hank and now I have Monty to deal with as far as on the kind of political pecking order of what was going to happen. And so, you spend your time in the coast, you spend your time in the AHL, you get some call-ups to the show, you go back to the coast, you go straight back to the show, you go straight back to the coast. And it's just like, man, that year, I believe I set the record at the time, and I don't know if it still stands up, but I think I had 15 or 16 transactions that first year with New York up and down the system, from the Rangers to Hartford to Charlotte. Like I said, a lot of times from Charlotte straight to New York, and then straight. I didn't even get to stop in Hartford on the way back down, just straight back down. So it eventually became a situation where I'd go into the coach's office for the 9th time of the year, and he goes, "Hey, we're gonna be sending you down." It's like, okay, well, is this one where I get to take a plane or am I taking my car? Like, which one is it? He's like, "You're taking your car." So I'm like, okay, I'm not coming back.
What is the conversation with your agent at the time? Because I'd like to think that despite it being the greatest draft widely regarded as in NHL history, you got an opportunity, and then Montoya goes 5th, and you're like, well, what the hell? What am I going to do now? The agent says, just keep going at it, keep chipping away 20 miles, 20 smiles. I mean, you're dressing for games in his rookie season, so like it can't be that bad.
Yeah, it felt like I was just really close. Like you said, you're on the team. You're up, 15 games a year, 20 games a year in the NHL, mostly for injury stuff. But like you're the guy that's getting the call up, so you feel like you're just right on the cusp of, maybe next year I'm going to get the real look, or maybe next year I'm going to get an opportunity to come up here and make the team as the backup, or be somebody who can get a start here and there and prove my value. Maybe it'll increase my trade value somewhere if I can get a start, win a few games, get sent down. Maybe you get in a situation where you can get a one-way, now you get clear waivers and do things like that. So it's like, it felt like we were so close, but I mean, obviously as Hank took over the spot as prolifically as he did, when the deal was coming up in New York, there was not going to there's no desire to re-sign there. It was time to go somewhere else.
So to set the record straight, you didn't kick anyone's dog. You didn't smash the owner's vehicle.
No.
None of those things were factors in any of this.
I did. I'll tell you a story about Tom Rennie, who was the coach there, and a good guy. I had a great time playing for him. But he was one of the guys that wanted the smaller goalie at the time, and Hank wasn't big either. I mean, at the time he was also a very, flower looking guy. And so I remember there was a postseason, we were doing an exit interview. I think I'd gone on a good run in Hartford in the playoffs. I'm like, I felt pretty good about where I was at, wanted a shot to make it. Weeksy was the backup. He wasn't coming back. And so I think he might have even retired after that season. So it was like, felt like there was a spot that I could at least fight for. And I went into his office and he said, you got to get a lot smaller. You got to get a lot smaller. And I'm just like, I don't know what you want me to do. I should have been a lineman, but I'm a goalie. Like I should have been, I'm in the wrong sport. I'm a football player identifying as a hockey player at the moment.
and now they're begging for guys that are your size or bigger.
I know. It kills me, So anyway, he's in the office. He goes, you got to get smaller. I said, I disagree. Like I'm playing great. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how much smaller you think I can get. At the time I was a pretty lean 230. He goes, I want you to be down, like under 220. Like I want you to be way down, this and that. And I go, okay. So I tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I said, if I come back under, 220, because he was in my face about it a little bit. I was like, if I come back under the weight that you want, like you give me a real shot. I was like, and if I don't, you can rip my deal up and I'll go somewhere else. Like I'm done with this, And he's like, fine, deal. So that summer I went home. I just ran. I didn't even lift the weight. I just ran probably like 5 miles a day, 6 miles a day, just running constantly. Came back in. I was so small and was under the weight. I was like, tell this guy to come weigh me in himself. Like I'm going to do it. And was under the weight. But I didn't play that good that year. I was weak. I was, I didn't feel like I was very fast anymore. Like I lost a lot of the power that was kind of there. Probably just didn't do it the right way. Right. Like I just thought I had to run and sit in a sauna and just shrink. But yeah, so people wanted the small goalies. And then you get guys like, Bish that come into the league and guys that are just, the big goalies started coming in just as I was going over to Russia. So that's, that's the whole thing. But yeah, just didn't get the opportunities,
Well, so I'm curious to know how your expectations changed because, you played in the USHL, correct? The junior hockey in the US.
I played for the U.S. National Team Development Program.
Right. Oh, so which is now, is that the same? I know there's a lot of that. Then they were kind of figuring out exactly how the structure was going to work, right?
Yeah, we were on a tour. And actually Monty had left the NTDP to go to Michigan a year early. I think he accelerated his high school to go to Michigan early, which vacated a spot on the NTDP that I took up. And at that time, we weren't really part of a league. We were just on a tour. We played USHL teams, but mostly we were on a tour playing college teams.
This was a clip for a full-length show. If you want to watch the full episode of the clip you just saw, click right here. You get the full show, and they go up live every single Sunday. If you want more clips of what you just saw, click right here. You can see the next great hit.